Sivaprakasam Pillai has given so much, so much. It will take, I can at least do about 15, 10 to 15 videos, which will be helpful for all sadhakas. All of them will be oriented towards analysis. All of them will be very strongly inclined towards manana process of the Vedantic study. He'll be doing. He always did that. He was all calm. He was never in any. He never mingled anywhere. He was in his village. He did all this sadhana. So he was graceful. And the Vachana Saram is one of them. And Vachana Saram, Ramana Vachana Saram becomes even more important because Bhagavan randomly picked up one sheet from the bundle given by Manikam Pillai, his nephew, after his demise, after the demise of Sivaprakasam Pillai, and just picked one random sheet and gave and said, "Why this is enough?" Which means everything is already decided. Bhagavan is doing all this act, all these leelas, somebody who does not know anything, he just does all this. Look at what is coming out when he picks up just one sheet. And we have also heard that Bhagavan, whenever somebody has any doubt, he'll ask for some book to be brought. And when the book brought, whatever he needs to read for them, for the people or refer to, he will just open the book. Never has he turned on extra page. When he opens the book, what he wants will be there. What can you say about this? I mean, we all say it is all a miracle and all that. We will say, I mean, as people like us, what do we understand about the nature of Parabrahma Sachitananda? We only theoretically know. But he used to just open and he used to get it. Similarly, he picked one leaf from the bundle of manuscripts, and it happened to be Ramana Vachanasaram. And look at the power of Ramana Vachanasaram. You don't need anything. I mean, if you strictly follow the small book, Who Am I? And read a little bit of, once or twice read Upadesa Undiyar and read Ulladu Narpadu once or twice, and then keep on reading the Who Am I, and with supplemented with small works like this Ramana Vachanasaram, I think that is enough. We don't need to read anything more than this. I think it'll be full and final for our final for our journey and reaching the destination. Such is the power of Bhagavan, such is the grace of Bhagavan to impel people like Muruganar and Sivaprakasam Pillai to write so much for us. Sivaprakasam Pillai's work is especially useful for us because he was not a very big scholar of a language like Muruganar was. Muruganar was an unmatched Tamil scholar. His Tamil language was very vintage and very difficult to understand, especially for beginners. Very difficult to understand. Most of the words, you permanently need a dictionary next to you, a Tamil dictionary next to you, to decipher what are certain ways of presentation he has made, and the words itself were very tough. So it was only with the help of a good commentary or a good translation or somebody who has taken up the job to dilute whatever he has said in a more understandable language. Even the most learned today's Tamil people who are reasonably well versed in Tamil, I can say, are struggling with Muruganar's work. They are not able to follow unless you again and again for years together keep on reading his works. You will not be able to follow. But on the contrary, Sivaprakasam Pillai's Tamil was rather straightforward. It was Tamil that was prevailing in those years. Those years, again, we are talking only about early 1900s. Early 1900s was not very different from what is there today. And also, he was not a Tamil scholar. He was a student of philosophy. So, he wrote in a very simple, understandable way. He gave us whatever he wrote was like that only. So, it will be very, very useful to follow Sivaprakasam Pillai's work along with Bhagavan's original works like Who Am I? Upadesa Saram, Ulladu Narpadu. I think if we are very sincere in terms of our practice, these are enough. if we are not too bothered about getting scholarly, if we are not too bothered about learning everything and being able to challenge everybody, anybody in a debate or something like that, if that is not our intention, and if our intention is only for the final state of Sayujya as recommended in Vedanta, then these are enough. There's no need to endlessly, reading, and confusing ourselves further, generating so many doubts where no doubt exists at all. We'll be ending up doing all that. So I think we are all blessed in that sense to have people to have some simple, straightforward works from Bhagavan directly, and for making Bhagavan to induce people like Siva Prakasham Pillai to record their experiences. Similarly, there are other people's reminiscences, also few other people's old devotees' reminiscences, which will be very useful. But I think, from my experience, from my understanding, this is enough. With Bhagavan as the central structure, and Muruganar on the one side and Sivaprakash Pillai on the other side, I don't think beyond that anything else is needed. For sake of clarification, we can refer to other people's work, but this is by and large enough for somebody who is serious. So I just started explaining. We just had a small conversation describing the video that was posted a couple of days ago, Ramana Vachana Saram, and so the elaboration was given. Now, if we will turn our attention back to our subject in hand, we were talking about Who Am I? We were reading the book Who Am I a little bit and trying to do a study on what we read. This is where we started last week on Who Am I? Now, this Who Am I we saw came into existence again due to our dear Shiva Prakasham Pillai, who asked this question suddenly one day to Brahmana Swami, also known as Bhagavan now. He went to him and asked him who he was. That is all he asked. And Bhagavan understood the current of from what was driving Sivaprakash Pillai to ask that question, and Bhagavan replied him, saying that you are the self, you are Satchitananda. This is how the whole thing started. And then Sivaprakash Pillai, because of all the doubts he had accumulated over a period of time, was able to put forth a lot more questions to Bhagavan, and Bhagavan answered them, and Sivaprakash Pillai recorded them. This all we saw in the first part of Who Am I reading. Now, to sum up what we studied so far, we started off saying that happiness is our inherent nature. We all always want to be happy. We cannot be anything other than happiness. This is not because we always want to be in luxury or anything like that. This is not happiness. We have to understand one big difference between happiness and pleasure. Most of us in our day-to-day life have a total confusion between what is known as happiness and what is pleasure. They may, on the outside feeling, they may appear like one and the same, but they are not. Happiness is derived from ourselves, from our own self. It's internal, it's there, it's our nature, as we have seen. It is not a qualification, it is not an attribute, it is our nature itself. That is happiness. Pleasure, on the other hand, is derived from external objects, or from anything that is not us. That is where pleasure comes from. And let us say one is fond of some sweets, some form of sweet, and he goes about making the sweet and all that, preparing, making all the effort towards it, and he's got a final good output, good sweet he has managed to prepare. Now he's eating the sweet. Now, when when something that is very, very close to us happens, like such pleasures, or suddenly we are, instead of a shock, we hear a very shocking news or whatever, our mind stills immediately for a period of time. We do not know the period of time. It depends on what the circumstances is or what the situation is. And the mind comes to a halt for a period. So, whenever mind stops, what happens? We have always seen. The moment mind is not there, Sachitananda comes out in all its glory. Is seen, or the mind is like a mass that is collected on top of the water body. And when that mass is removed, what is there? Pure water is there underneath. Similarly, on top of what is pure Satchit Ananda, the mass called mind is accumulated. Now, we are removing that mass. Technically, we have to do it by means of sadhana. But for this example of happiness and pleasure, for the distinction between happiness and pleasure, we say we do something that is close to, that is very interesting to me, that is close to my mind, like eating the sweet, for example. When I eat the sweet, the mind merges in the self, that is Atman, and the Atman shines forth. So we feel happy. But every time, without exception, we wrongly attribute that happiness to the sweet, after all, the inert sweet that we have made and we have tasted. So we think pleasure or happiness, for that matter, comes from the objects of the world. If I drive a very luxurious car, I'm very happy. If I really am with a person of my liking, I'm very happy. All this is because when you obtain anything like that, anything close to your mind, anything that mind wants, when the mind wins over that, a sense of happiness prevails because the mind dives to its source and the mind ceases to be for a while. And when the mind ceases to be, it's evident that the pristine, pure adhisthana, the substrate, is going to be seen clearly. That is, Atman is going to be clearly, unadulterated Atman is going to be felt by us. Now, this is, and we have seen the nature of Satchitananda is existence, consciousness, bliss. So, this bliss factor shines forth when it is pure. And we derive happiness, we derive the so called happiness in the external world. It comes only from the inherent happiness and never from any object like the sweet or the car we drive or the house we live or the circumstances in which we are. Nothing. All of them generate pleasure and we mistake that pleasure for happiness. So, on the first paragraph, Bhagavan introduced that everybody is always wanting happiness because happiness is one's own nature. So, having given this preamble, it was the question, who am I? Featured as the first question. And it was declared that what I am not was, first of all, elucidated. I am not this body. I am not this gross body made up of senses, jnanendriyas, karmendriyas, prana, manas, indriya, other indriyas, then my intellect. All this I am not, because all these are available to me as objects. Because we are always in the habit of saying, my body, my senses, my mind, my intellect. It's obvious that it is your possession. It is not you. So, when we talk about what is, we talk about what is the what is uh, who am I? All these are not, has been eliminated in the first place to start with. Actually, we saw this is the classical Vedantic Marga elimination. If you see the work called Viveka Chudamani, written by Bhagavad Padal Shankaracharya, it is clear. He talks, the entire book is dedicated to the study of Panchakosas and eliminating the Panchakosas. And what are these Panchakosas? We saw the various bodies, the comprising of the gross body, subtle body, and the causal body. Annamaya kosa, the pranamaya kosa, the manomaya kosa, the vijnanamaya kosa, and the anandamaya kosa. And it is seen that I am not any one of these. So, elimination process is taking, is being talked about to start with. Who I am not has been, Bhagavan has declared. He said, none of this. Then the question came about, if none of this is me, this is all I know of. If you say anything that I know of is not me, then who am I? One says, the one that is prevalent after elimination of all these aforesaid is you. There has to be one possessor of all these possessions. There has to be one subject who knows all this, who owns all this object. That subject is you. And that subject is Satchitananda. Pure awareness is the nature of that subject. That is nothing but awareness. So, the being, the awareness and happiness, that being is self-aware. We have seen that in many slokas before, including one elaborate one in Upadesa Saram. So, this being is aware of itself. It is self-aware. Swayam Prabha. So, it shines forth on its own without the need of anything external to make it shine. That is the nature of Satchit Ananda. We have seen this. And then we progressed towards it. So, after eliminating this and theoretically understanding that we are Satchitananda, the world seems to be always appearing. As we saw, world is only an appearance. There is nothing called world other than mind. Now the world appears to us. Why does the world appears to us? Because we have given up the state of the ultimate state of Sachitananda, and we have become a tiny individual speck in the cosmic. Let me not use terms like cosmic, in Sachitananda. That is enough for our understanding, because the term cosmic and earthing can really confuse and take us slightly away from the core of Bhagavan's teaching, because according to Bhagavan, there is nothing called a cosmic mind or anything. There is Parabrahma Satchitananda, and there is the individualized you. In between this, there is a cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha. All this is not Bhagavan's method of teaching. They may all satisfy the hunger of scholarly people. But for people like us who are at the feet of Bhagavan, what Bhagavan has actually created the most appropriate methodology for us to practice the Vichara Marga. So I'll shun from using terms like cosmic and other things. So the world appears because we have separated ourselves from the Sachitananda in form of an individual, assumed a body, consider ourselves towards the confines, only to the confines of the body. Anything outside the body is not me. It becomes he, him, it, her, whatever. And the mind comes forth because the ego is nothing other than the mind. The mind starts its own function. It is full of avidya, and it creates the world vision for us. This is why we say there is nothing that exists on its own. There is no world. We may say we may explore a distant planet, called Pluto, and say a planet is there so many kilometers away and all that. But if one simple question is asked to such people, nothing wrong. Let them do their science. I'm not against science at all. I have been a science student myself. I'm not against science, but as we saw in that one small lecture on a Vedanti, a scientist becomes a Vedantin, our fundamental premise on top of which we are doing our experiments and studying science is at fault. The moment we are able to rectify that fault, if we are inclined still to do science, we can study science. If not, we can just be whatever it is. So we cannot say anything about it until we reach there. First, let us reach there. Now, it is only because of this mind that everything, all the distant planet, everything is being perceived. They are not there on their own account other than the mind. Simple intuition of the deep sleep state brings us to the conclusion. We clearly see no world in deep sleep, but we know our existence in deep sleep. I think it's a very, very powerful analogy, this analysis of avasthas. In fact, I'm doing one exclusive talk on that subject, Avasthatraya, study of Avasthatraya. We see as in, when it is ready, I will share it. And so we have seen that the world comes into existence only when the mind is present, only after mind coming into the existence. And we have also seen the first ever thought that the mind gets is, I am the body. The moment it catches hold of the body, the mind is now stable in its own right, because the mind needs something gross for survival. Now that it has it's got a body to hold on, it's fine. It is now established its kingdom. Now it is going to start its rule. It's going to rule with a very, very iron fist. It is not, but the same mind as some people would want to have it can do good things, can do bad things, can do can be of paropakara to fellow human beings, or can be a rigid ruler like Hitler, for example. Uh, I don't want to use any bigger example, but I'm saying so. Such things is capable by mind, but for as a student of Vedanta, as a practitioner of Vichara, when the mind is used for, we are in trouble. We be in good mind. There is nothing called good mind or bad mind. It's only the vasanas that is there in the mind, that is impelling the mind to act, that makes it a good mind or bad mind. There is only one mind. We all know that. So, so based on all this, we call it as good mind, bad mind. But our aim is manonasa, the destruction of mind. This is what we are all striving for. This is what we want to achieve. So, let the mind. So when the mind creates its own world, that is what is known as drishti srishti vada. First there is drishti. First there is sight. Then there is creation, srishti. One very good scholar, science scholar in science and the Vedantin also, had compared this drishti srishti, that is our creating all this every time. He says the Big Bang, the so-called scientific Big Bang, which created the entire universe, is actually happening every second. The moment our attention goes into some object, so we are creating the Big Bang every now and then, every time we see an external object, we think of an external object, an object gets created. Drishti creates Srishti. Whereas all the other dualistic school, they say first there is an Ishvara, and then the Ishvara created the world, and we are living in the world, and such things is there. So that is Srishti is first done by Ishvara, and then we are there as individuals, and we are then having the Drishti of what has been already produced. This is the dualistic school of thought. The problem with such school is so many assumptions come into the picture. The moment we say God, I can question, where is the God shown? How can you say God? Then they will come around roundabout way explaining, no, that is not how you should see God. You are God. I'm saying that is what is happening now. I am God. So I am creating. Everything will come down. It becomes so confusing. The Srishti, uh, in order to do a justification, becomes so difficult. It's got so many assumptions. It assumes Kailasa, it assumes Vaikunda, it assumes Brahmaloka. Everything is assumed to be real. Bhagavan will ask only one question. Where was all this in your deep sleep? Why did, if they are there already, why did they not shine forth at that time? Why does it need a mind to perceive it? So everything is sort of the arguments are they don't hold what they cannot stand the argument from people like Bhagavan. And Bhagavan, people like Bhagavan are never argumentative. With just one question, they will give the answer. This is all Bhagavan has spoken. He has not spoken much. When all these people will come with all their preparation and try to challenge Bhagavan, he will go to the deep sleep analogy, ask a simple question, and these people will keep quiet because they know they're hopelessly they are lost. Their contention is not going to hold. So they will give up. So in this question, when it is said that the world appearance will come forth only when mind appearance, when mind is there, when mind is not there, self appears. So world needs mind, and self cannot come out when mind is there. We saw the example of rope and snake. When we think it is a snake, how are we going to see the rope? Whereas when we clearly know it is a rope, we are not going to be deluded that it is a snake. Similarly, when the mind shuts, the self automatically shines forth. No help is needed because it is self-effulgent, shines forth on its own. And when self shines forth, there is no world. So they are not compatible with each other. They are in fact completely opposite to each other. Tama prakasha viruddha swabhavano. It is like darkness and light. Their swabhavam are totally viruddha, opposite to each other. So this is being established in one of the points. And then we saw what is mind. We had a look into now that we know that mind is creating the world, mind is doing all this. What is mind? We need to know about what is mind. It said mind is nothing but thoughts. Other than thoughts, there is no concrete entity called mind. A collection, multitude of thought is what we term for the sake of our dualistic language as mind. So the mind on its own, I mean, as an exclusive entity, is non-existent. But we'll still study stuff like Manomaya Kosa, mind, and other things. You will have to understand and sort of decipher it to be only thoughts. Thoughts only comprises of mind. This has been said very clearly. And mind also has another name called the subtle world. We saw the Annamaya Kosa is the gross body, the Pranamaya Kosa, the Manomaya Kosa, and the Vijnanamaya Kosa is the subtle body. All of them together, we can call it as mind because prana is the gross form of mind and uh, intellect, vijnana, is more subtler than mind, but it is all about thinking, it is all about doing thoughts. So it is nothing wrong in terming them as mind. So when it is said, it is the mind that is called the subtle body. And according to Shastras, what happens during death? We take another body. Now, who is this we that take another body? It's the mind. Mind is the one that transmigrates and moves from one body to another and has resided in thousands or countless number of bodies till today. As on date, this is the body, it is the mind is occupied. The moment this body's prarabdha is exhausted, the mind will carry the prana and move away. It will be in astral state for a while. Then it will catch hold of another body, which is the most appropriate for the mind, and it will start residing, start everything operation. We think our life is starting. We celebrate our birthdays when on the calendar day that the body came into existence. Our parents say, you were born on this day, very auspicious. All that is there. But for people like us, what does it mean? What does all this mean? What is auspiciousness about a day? Or will you, Bhagavan used to say, when people ask Bhagavan, which is the most auspicious day to do certain things, he says there is nothing auspicious other than now. Now is the only auspicious thing that is there. And Muruganar has written quite a lot of songs around this theme. Maybe I'll refer to one of them and I'll let you know. But all clearly it is said by Bhagavan, auspiciousness is only there in now, only in the immediate present. We can do our sadhana in the now only, not in the past, not in the future. Now. So there is nothing called auspicious. But we think the day the body comes out, a big panchanga is consulted, the time is noted, very auspicious. All this for our own petty satisfaction of the mind. They hold no meaning. They hold no meaning. Bhagavan has made it very clear always. He still concedes for the sake of people who are very strongly in that sense, and he says, okay, this nakshatra, that nakshatra. It's talking about in scripts, spoken about in shastras, and Bhagavan will not vehemently argue against all that. That is the beauty of Bhagavan. He will never unsettle anybody beyond a point. He will never say, this is wrong. No, this is totally wrong. Give up all this, do this. Never. You go their own way. At the appropriate time, turn them to the righteous path. That is the beauty of Bhagavan. He knows that if suddenly overnight he gives a jolt, what happens? He knows everything. Bhagavan knows everything. Once when Kundaswami asked Bhagavan, Bhagavan, you know the innermost recesses of all our thought. Every thought of us, everything is known to you. Is that not? Bhagavan said, yes. He said clearly, yes, I do. But if I start letting all that out, not one person will stay here in this house. Everybody will benefit. That's just state of our mind. People like Manikavachakar, people like Sivaprakash Pillai have sung in many occasions. But Bhagavan, I do so many rotten things in this life. Only I know, and only you know. You know everything, I know everything. Nobody around knows what rot I'm into, what rot I'm doing. They all think I'm a pious man because of my outward vesha. They all think I'm great. They all think I'm a scholar. But I know my mind. I know the lowly nature of my mind. Manikavachakar has told that in many songs in Tiruvachakam. So Prakasa Pillai has used this example. Muruganar has used this example. He said, only you know, I know. Nobody else knows. So I'm happily, you are not going to ask me anything, that much I know. And all the people around are totally fooled by my conduct, by my outward experience or way of life. And I'm happily going on doing all the nonsense, around. Bhagavan, he needs strength to give up all these deceptive things and come up. It's the prayer of Manikavachaka and people like Saurashtra. So, the mind is nothing but the subtle body. It transmigrates from one life to another. It is a mind that moves from one life to another. This much we saw. And from now, the path, now having set forth what thoughts are, what mind are, having read a little bit about all this, the question comes to us. Now, okay, fine, I am agreeable. What is the path of inquiry for understanding the nature of mind is the question. That which rises as I in this body is mind. If one inquires as to where in the body the thought I rises first, one would discover that it rises in the heart. That is the place of mind's origin. Even if one thinks constantly, I, one will be led to that place. Of all the thoughts that arise in the mind, the I thought is the first. It is only after the rise of that the other thought arises. It is after the appearance of the first personal pronoun that second and third personal pronouns appear. Without the first personal pronoun, there will not be a second and third. So the questioning now moves a little bit towards the nature of the mind or the path of inquiry. So path of inquiry, that is vichara marga, is being touched upon. So what is this I? This I think Jagdish Garu posted a question as to why Bhagavan discouraged Soham. I think we will come to, we'll come to that. We'll come to that. We'll finish this and come. Yes. So we have seen that in some Upadesa Sara slokas that Soham is a circuitous way, not the direct path. We'll talk about that, Sharo. So to continue here, uh, if one inquires as to where in this body the I rises, we see it is from the heart. Now, we have discussed on few occasions what this heart means. People can, on the first glance of reading this book, Who Am I First, will immediately think that heart is being this the physiological heart that we have on the left side of the chest, the organ, the fleshy organ which pumps blood and things. That cannot obviously be the heart because it is totally jata, totally insentient. It is a part of this fleshy, gross body. So, in what way can it be heart, and in what way an intelligent eye can come out of this flesh? So it cannot be. Even a small consideration would give us the answer to that. Next, Bhagavan has in few cases, especially when people who are very strongly oriented towards the Raja Yoga Marga, this Raja Yoga Marga takes body as the base and does all the vichara or meditation, prana, whatever, pranayama, breath control, mind control, all that they are taking the body as the base. So people who came in early days to Bhagavan, who who are very who have studied quite a lot of this Raga Yoga Marga and have posted questions to Bhagavan. Bhagavan, you say, where is this heart? What is this heart you're referring to? So Bhagavan has to give them some meaningful answer, make them understand about, okay, fine, these people at this point of understanding, they need something within the confines of the body, and he gave the answer that 2 digits towards the right side of the chest is the heart, is the spiritual heart. This was the answer given by Bhagavan because he says, they said, what is the pramana for the? Bhagavan said, it is my own experience. I don't think I need any further quotation or any further reference. But he also quoted in one or two Ayurveda material from Malayalam literature and quoted that. And he said, more importantly, whenever points I came, we immediately have the habit or tendency to touch the right side of our chest. Very rare people do the lips, touching the left side of the chest. Very rare. We don't know why, but Yeah, it is common. Whenever you can observe yourself doing that, or you can observe whenever next time you have an opportunity to pose some question to somebody and who refers themselves like this, you can observe and note for yourself. This is a very common habit because this is where the I is. This is the spiritual heart. This is where the I issues for. Again, this is only an intermittent explanation for people who are into all this Kundalini yoga, another thing they want. All the body has got all the six chakras and energy moves from one chakra to another, it goes to Sahasrara and it drips down to heart. All that is there. People whose mind is very strongly inclined there. And those people, they were whenever came to Bhagavan, only very few people like Muruganar fell at the feet of Bhagavan and asked Bhagavan, Bhagavan, teach me what I should know. A lot of other people who are already, studying quite a lot, they came to Bhagavan and asked only doubts. Sivaprakasam Pillai also asked a doubt as to who he was, but fortunately for us, in our case, it is the most relevant question conducive to the teaching of Bhagavan. And that is all he asked. Whereas other people, they come, they assume something already, they come ask what about Mooladhara, about Sahasrara, about this chakra, I don't even know all of it. And anything, but everything contained in the body. And whatever they have studied, they came and asked Bhagavan only the doubt. They never surrendered to Bhagavan in the totality and asked Bhagavan to teach them what I should learn. Raghunath did that. Because of which we have Upadesa today, because of which we have Ulladinarpad today, because of which we have something like some brilliant gem like Anbavidya Kirtana today. It is because he never thought using his mind and asked any question based on its former knowledge. Of course, it should be said, it was a blessing in disguise for Muruganar in being such a big Tamil scholar. He has never ventured into Vedanta in any way before Vedantic literature or study in any way before coming to Bhagavan. So he was ready. He had the purity that was needed to study Bhagavan's teaching. And straight away he fell for what Bhagavan's teaching was. And he surrendered. His surrender was so complete and he attained what he needs to achieve. He has achieved. And Sivaprakasam Pillai did a little circuitous route. He had to, because he already had quite a lot of baggage. He had to do quite a bit of unlearning because even during later days, in Sivaprakasam Pillai's work, you see quite a lot of analysis he has done about how mind is functioning, how it gives information to the intellect, how remembrance takes place, why we are remembering all this, where does the mind go in the night, all that he was doing. And immediately after a bunch of after one set of analysis, what am I doing? All this will not take me half an inch closer to where I'm traveling. Only ways to do who am I? He came to the conclusion. And he immediately traced back to the path. Whereas other people were a little bit more rigid because of their vasanas accumulated over a period of time, because of their inclination towards whatever they have studied before coming to Bhagavan. All this, promoted them in asking questions like that. But that's fine. So this heart that we are talking about is nothing but Satchitananda self. That is the highest teaching. Bhagavan in many cases where people were humble enough to accept Bhagavan's words, has given this explanation about heart. We have seen in one of the slokas in Ekatma Panchakam, where it is said, தன்னுள் தனு இருக்க தான் அஜட உடலம் தன்னுள் இருப்பதாய் தான் உண்ணும். Meaning, we have seen it, is the body in the self or self in the body. We all assume that I am inside the body. Whereas the body and the entire world is contained in the self is the ultimate teaching of Vedanta. We know that we are able to understand that by intuiting deep sleep and by few other studies. We are able to clearly see that. But when it comes to this body, we feel because there is a semblance of feeling of I rising from within the body, we think the heart that is talked about, which is the ultimate Satchitananda, we think that heart is inside this body. That is where the I thought comes from. Enough for the present. If that is what satisfied because of our attachment to the body so much, like so Prakasham Pillai said in the small work, the meaning of I, he said, why we are taking the body as I? Because of our countless janmas association with body, we are not able to give up the bodily feeling at all. We are getting stuck again and again, despite so many explanations given by Bhagavan. And you take any Vedantic literature, you study Upanishads, it is clearly mentioned. No prominence is given to the body. So, we are completely getting mistaken about this heart when it is said, one would discover that the I feeling rises in the heart. This is why we should have some Bhagavan's background before coming to this. Because if somebody suddenly, this is one of the reasons why for people who are coming to Bhagavan's teaching, I won't recommend this book called Who Am I immediately. A lot of people are in the habit of giving the book, always having multiple copies of the small terse work Who Am I and giving it. Fine, good way to go, but such terms have to be demystified before taking them literally. Whereas people who are new will only end up taking literally. And I don't blame anyone. Who is to blame? After all, when you say heart, I can only think of what I know. And I know of a heart called this physiological organ, or at the best, know some place within my body to be the heart. How did I know that Satchitananda is the name of heart? So, such background helps. We should the krama, the steps that we take. It's better that it is in sequential manner for us to go. So, having said that heart is the birthplace of mind, Bhagavan says, if one constantly think of I, that would eventually take one to the heart, which is the self. Now, this when Bhagavan said, think of I, it is not like the Soham Bhavam meditation. No, this is not. Now, we will see the answer to the question. Why it is different from, how it is different from Soham Bhavam, this consideration of thinking constantly as I. It is like this. In Soham Bhavam, first of all, in normal worship, we think there is a God residing somewhere, residing in Vaikuntha, residing in Kailasa, residing in Arunachala, whatever. And I am the worshipper of the God. That God is everything. I fall at the feet of the God. Say, God, help me. What I do my prayers, I do my puja, I do my japa, I do my dhyana. All this I do on the God. Now, who is doing all this? Is it not the mind? The mind is active and the mind does the japa or puja or the worship of God. Now, Bhagavan said, okay, that should not be your bhava. Instead, you have to internalize the bhava. That is called anya bhava, because anya is anything outside you. The confines of the body is anyam. So, if we have to know what is the opposite of anya, it is ananya. That is me without any separation. There is no separation. There is no anya between this and that. Now, Now this is Anyam, this is Ananyam. Yeah, I mean, just a crude example, don't take it very seriously. So, that in that Ananya Bhavam, we have to do meditation, is what Bhagavan's recommendation. So, initially, it takes the form of Soham. Soham means Soham, I am He. I am He, that is, I am Arunachala, or I am Venkatesa, I am whatever. The object of worship and the worshipper, they merge. So, an Ananya Bhavam is taking place slowly. It is not a fully mature, but yes, I am saying I am He. So that is Soham Bhava. I am claiming here again. I mean, this includes beware. Mind is in this. So the mind says I am He. Whereas the true culmination of Ananya Bhava will happen when there is no distinction at all. When they both truly merge. That is, with the help of the mind, I say I am He. Whereas you totally merge. At that time, that I am He is not needed because you are always Him. So why the thought I am He as in Soham Bhava? Soham Bhavam, we always are reminding ourselves that I am He. They're trying to come to the culmination of Ananya Bhava, but it is only an intermediary step at that point in time of meditating Soham. Initially, we did Rama, Krishna, Muruga, whatever, thinking that he lives in his abode and I live here. Then we progress and we start thinking, no, he's here, he's here, I am he, I am he. But still the thought is not settled very well. So I claim Soham. So Bhagavan said, we have to drop the Soham and transcend. The in here, if when Bhagavan says, even if one thinks constantly of I, what does it mean? The things here is not a thought on a second person. So far, we were thinking Arunachala or we are thinking some other god. The moment we conceive it in some name, it becomes external to us. The thought comes out, saying that I should have the grace of Arunachala. I am Arunachala. That also comes. But still, here, the second attention is moving away from the first person to second and third person. Is it not evident in this case? We have to employ our mind. Now, when Bhagavan says, be the I, all we have to do is, when one constantly thinks of I, it is not a meditation. It is only staying focused in the feeling of I. This is what Bhagavan recommends. So when you are in that feeling of I, it is not the Sogam Bhavam anymore. It is Atma Vicharam. So when Bhagavan gave this, as it appears, I've read somewhere, because somebody said, Bhagavan, when I am not able to put the question, who am I? And my mind is not settling down. It's coming with so many thoughts. In fact, the moment you start any form of meditation, including the vichara, thoughts will come countless. There's no doubt about it. And it is good, Bhagavan says, because all these vasanas that are deeply ingrained within have to be jolted and make them come to the surface. What if there is a jug of water and there is a lot of sediments in the water? How will we be able to get rid of the sediment? We stir it, all the sediments come on top, then we'll be able to skim it out. A process of filtering. So Bhagavan says, the inbuilt the vasana that is so much there within you, in the depths of you, have surfaced so that they can be gotten rid of. Now, this is the only reason that when you sit in meditation of any form or vichara, thoughts in countless number comes out. So it is good. Let them come out, and the moment they come out, they are ready. We are ready with our astra called who am I? To whom is this arising? I be able to put the question. So I'm able to destroy that thought once and for all because I'm not going to follow the trail left by the thought. I'm going to sit where I'm sitting, but I'm going to ignore that thought and stay put in the I. So when people complain to Bhagavan that countless thoughts are rising, to in order for such people, he gave a different language, saying, think constantly of I. Is that any different from vichara? Have we not seen வெளி விஷயங்களை விட்டு மனம் தன் ஒளியுரு ஓர்தல் 16th sloka of Upadesasara? So now we are leaving out all externalities by thinking I and staying only in that I, the feeling of I. And that is vichara. When Bhagavan said, post the question, who am I? People who had difficulty were finding it a little, were appeased a little bit. This is a little sugar coating Bhagavan has given on the bitter pill. They think, okay, fine, meditation is being recommended to me. But if you analyze the statement clearly and understand and start focusing only on I, all second and third persons are eliminated. This is the other way, roundabout way. This is say the two sides of one coin is who am I inquiry and this thinking of I. So Bhagavan is given here so beautifully without diluting anything. At the same time, satisfying people of all. This is the beauty of Bhagavan. We should appreciate everywhere. Nowhere he will unsettle somebody. Nowhere he will pull the carpet beneath your feet. He will go with you. Beautifully make you understand that this is grace. So, Bhagavan says, constantly keep thinking of this I means it is only vichara. It will lead to the same place. Because when we constantly do I, it is going to lead you to Satchitananda because that is where the I is. So Bhagavan is taken you to that place. Then, as seen before, of all the thought, the I thought is the first thought that rises in the mind. We have seen that many times before, and the I catches hold of a body. It's only after this I thought, all the second and third person thoughts issues go. That is what he says. It is after the first person I comes out, the second person he, she, it, or the third person he, him, you, all that, and the third person he, she, it comes forth. So, how will the mind become quiescent? How will the mind become calm? By the inquiry, who am I? The thought, who am I, will destroy all other thoughts. And like the stick used for stirring the burning fire, it will itself, in the end, get destroyed. Then that will raise self-realization. This we have seen in cases before. What happens when you attend, when you are very, very keenly attentive only to the first person, the second and third person will drop off. When the second and person drops off, they are not there. Your still now focus is more rigorous towards the first person I, the I that has come out as a spark from Satchit. Because of this attention given to the I thought, and because of the deprivement of the second and third thought, which is the food on which the first thought always, the I thought always grows and survives. Now it is starving on the one side, on the other side, keenly being watched. It is a two-pronged attack on the feeling called I. So, just like how the second and third person thought went off because we didn't pay attention to them, this first person thought, based on exclusive attention on it and the deprivation of its food, crumbles. And the example used here is when a corpse is taken to the crematory ground and the cremation is taking place, the person there, the in charge, uses a big stick and to put in all the body parts in place so that it is turned to ash in an even way. So he will use that. Finally, he casts that stick off. And the stick is also getting burnt. All the process wine is doing itself. It is in because it is right in the fire. And it's wood. And it consumed. It turns into ash. Similarly, which I thought upon keen attention and focus and upon deprivation of food in form of second and third person or external thoughts will perish like this stick that goes into the fire. What is the means of constantly holding to the thought, who am I? When other thoughts arise, one should not pursue them, but should inquire, to whom do they arise? It does not matter how many thoughts arise. As each thought arises, one should, with diligence, ask, to whom has this thought arisen? The answer would emerge, to me. Thereupon, if one inquires, who am I? The mind will go back to its source. And the thought that grows will become quiescent. When repeated practice in this manner is made, the mind will develop skill to stay in its source. When the mind that is subtle goes out through brain and sense organs, the gross names and forms appear. When it stays in the heart, names and forms disappear. Not letting the mind go out, but retaining it in the heart is what is called inwardness or antarmukha. Letting the mind go out of the heart is known as externalization, bahirmukha. Thus, when the mind stays in the heart, the I, which is the source of all thoughts, will go, and the self, which is ever existent, will shine. Whenever, whatever one does, one should do without the egoic I. If one acts in this way, all will appear as the nature of God, Shiva. Now, an elaboration I make here as to the method of constantly doing vichara. Let us see this word ego a little bit. We all use ego. We are right from our childhood. We are familiar with this word called ego. When it comes to study of Vedanta, this ego is something else. When in normal walk of life, people use ego as completely something else. They are not very sure about what this ego is. They think ego should not be there and all that they say. But is there anyone who is not without that ego? Without ego, there is no samsara. When the ego is gone, samsara is gone. So people say, you are having too much ego, I am having less ego, he is egoistic and all that. They are completely talking about something else. And we are all hearing this right from our childhood. Oh, he's got headway, he's full of ego. That is all something else they are talking about. Everybody is full of ego. Only a jnani is egoless. Everybody else is full of ego. It's the ego. We can't say it is not a relative thing which can be measured. I am having 20 ego. He's got 45 ego. No. So, word ego for all of us should what come, even though we are used to, thinking of ego in terms of vyavaharik sense, the laukika sense. Ego is equated to how much of head weight one has. No, let us not fall into all that. Our ego, when we refer ego, The moment a spark called I rises from Satchitananda, it is called ego. And as we have seen, before the ego is known by many names. It is known as the mind, it is known as Jiva, it is known as the subtle body, it is known as samsara. But the thing is this ego only. So let us be clear about this ego. And when other thoughts arises, one should not pursue to complete that thought. There are a lot of gurus today who say be a complete witness to your thoughts. Meaning, they see keep observing your thought. It's completely the other side of what Bhagavan is teaching. They say you should be a witness. Now, who is going to be the witness? I am going to be the witness. I am the rising I. But I want you to witness the rising I only. How is it going to happen? It has to witness itself. The mind will have to be turned inward called antarmukha. Now, the witness concept of witnessing, as taught by these people, they say, sit calm, don't react, just keep observing your thoughts. Bhagavan says, don't pay heed to that thought. Put the question to whom the thought is. Never try to complete a thought. But these Guru Mahas, they say, go with the thought. This is like we are seeing the a beautiful example cited by Bhagavan before. It is like don't think of the monkey when taking the medicine. Exactly when we take the medicine in hand, monkey is going to necessarily feature in our mind. Because we will remember what I should not do. I should not think of monkey. Monkey is already fully playing in your mind. This is why it is called monkey game. I don't know. I'm just saying. Then, similarly, when we witness all thoughts, all our focus is on the thought. We are watching the thought. Okay, let us say I'm building a big castle or a mansion. Okay, I'm only sitting and thinking. These people say, go with the thought. Don't have any I feeling or whatever. Don't own the thought. How is it possible? My mind is fully engrossed in the content of the thought. So it is only getting strengthened because of the attention is receiving. We are only helping the thought flourish by watching the thought in the sense. Bhagavan says, watching the thought, the moment the thought, any thought, I don't know the content of that, I know that an urge called thought comes to me. That is all the attention to the thought. To whom is this semblance or this feeling of thought, to whom is it occurring? It's a question we need to. And the answer, it is to me, obviously. Me is occurring to me. Then, when you ask the question, who am I? What happens? The I comes prominently in the mind. And our focus is completely moved away from the thought and moved focused on the mind. And what will happen to the thought? Because there is no one to care about the thought, it will perish. It dies. So the focus is now moved on to the I, as we saw earlier. And this I is now struggling because the thought is not there for its support. In turn, it needs the support of the thought. Now we have eliminated the thought. Now this I is beginning to start because of the close attention being attentive, self-attentiveness. This is what is known as the I being attentive about itself. So what happens? It has to perish. With repeated practice of this way, of this putting this question, who am I? Whenever a thought arises, the mind will slowly start getting into the habit of staying in the heart rather than issuing forth. This is the actual mind control that we are talking about. Not by means of pranayama, not by means of any other sadhana, this yoga, that yoga. They will all temporarily make the mind subside and allow it to issue forth again. The moment the sadhana period is over, you should be careful here. This is why the path, the journey, everything is the same in this marga. Like we saw the example of that was given by Sadhu Swami, that when you're trying to learn a cycle, and your destination is Velur, which is north of Tiruvannamalai, why not learn on the way, fall, get up, half about 10 kilometers, you would have had the skill. Whereas you take the journey in the opposite direction towards Tirukkovilur, you will do the same for the 10 kilometers, you will fall, you will rise, you will fall, you will rise. So what happens? Now, I am reasonably strong in my skill of cycling. Suddenly, oh, I'm not in the right direction. I need to turn back. Okay, I'll turn back. So I'll have to travel that extra 10 miles, then cover the 90 miles towards Yellow. So Sadhu Swami says, why not practice on the same way? That is the best thing. And all other thought, the most powerful way of making the mind stay in the heart is who am I? In fact, it's emphatically stated that only one way, meaning to make it permanently stay in the heart. All others are temporary measures, as we have seen in that sloka. We saw in that sloka of Upadesa Undriya, Laya and Nasa are two kind of suppression of mind. What is in Laya will issue forth again, and what is restricted in form of Nasa will not issue forth again. So here, this is the Hua mind, is the only marga that can take you to Manonasa. So whatever practice you have, for example, you have the practice of doing meditation, sitting in meditation, you have so many other margas, you follow all that, but in order to achieve Manonasa, finally you will have to understand who you are by the method of Hua mind. There is no other way. So, Bhagavan has given the direct path. Go straight into that marga. Why do you want to take all the Sakhitis route? And Bhagavan has never given any great eligibility or whatever. He says everybody can practice. The strength will increase over a period of time when our practice is more firm. So, anybody can straight away start with who am I? Inquiry. Understand it well and start it off. No use in postponing, saying that I am not fit. So we will travel totally in the opposite direction to gain the fitness. And then we realize, oh, I'll have to travel back, start everything afresh. Do it now. So we are all absolutely ready for the Vichara Huamai without exception. All we have to do is gain the sincerity and the calmness in mind, sit and the one more beautiful thing I would say of this method is that you don't necessarily have to sit in a posture or allocate a time to do Atma Vichara. Let us say I'm walking towards a market to buy some vegetables. At the time, some thought comes in. I'm absolutely ready to pose the question to whom has this thought arisen. To me, the answer will be woman. So there is no place. You don't need, but for initial sadhaka, it is always recommended have a fixed time of doing the sadhana, have a fixed place, have a fixed posture. But they are all only to develop a new practice because they are coming suddenly from somewhere, from a different form of life into this Atma Vichara Marga. So it needs to stabilize. So we are like novice. So some small compromises or some small suggestions are given to us. But if you have the strength of mind, you don't need all that at all. You can straight away from wherever you are, you can pose this question because as we have seen, the capital called I is always there with us wherever we are. We are in mountain, we are in ocean, we are in desert, we are in Arunachaleshwara temple, we are in Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, we are in our own house with Without exception, it is there for us. So all we have to do is watch it. Can any marga be as simple as this? Bhagavan has given to us the most direct method, direct path. There's nothing more direct than this. So when we do this, the mind will start staying in the heart more and more. It will be more in antarmukha manner rather than bahirmukha of going out. So, and Bhagavan concludes the paragraph saying, whatever one does, one should do it without egoity. So, this I will have to be kept in place. Without this egoity I means, without the I, spawning many other thoughts and staying in itself. So, we are not using this ego called I now. As we have seen, staying in one's own attention is never an action. Because any action considers an object, an external object has to be there for any action to be done upon. A second person will have to be there. Whereas, since the mind is not going anywhere, it is only staying on its own self, the self-attention is never considered an action. So, binding of any nature can happen only when action is performed. Whereas when you're staying in your own self, it is not an action, so there's no binding. The bondage is getting released slowly. And once we practice being like this, doing whatever one should do without the egoity I, this is also known as nishkamya karma, as we have seen before. The kartrutva bhava is being given up. So once that is achieved, everything is going to be Shivamaya. Everything is going to be seen as Shiva, the nature of God. So today we did only one question. We were able to and take only one question, but since that is the most important of all in this whole Vama study, let that be a session on its own. And the next session also will be equally absorbing because we are going to see the means of making the mind to accept. So we'll sum up this session